I'm Austin. I'm a radio TV broadcasting major. I identify as trans and my pronouns are he, they.
I am Celestia. I normally just go by Celeste. I use she, her pronouns, and I am transgender and a lesbian.
My name is Taliana Rubin. I go by she, her pronouns, and I'm bisexual.
I'm Viv. I go by they, them pronouns, but honestly, I don't really care what people refer to me as long as they, acknowledge my chosen name. I'm Viv. I go by they, them pronouns, but I don't really care what people call me, to be honest.
My name is Castiel Meddy. I use he, she, they pronouns, and I'm studying for special education.
How do you feel that your pronouns represent you?
I have fluid pronouns, but I prefer if people default to he, she, they. I feel like they represent me fairly well. I've gotten to know how to narrow down what I'm feeling in a day and how to express that with other people.
Honestly, it just made the most sense. I feel like a guy most of the time, but then there's also times where it's just like, eh.
My pronouns represent me in a way to where I like to play with both masculinity and femininity. So sometimes I'll dress like this, or sometimes I'll dress feminine, or sometimes I don't care at all how people perceive me. They represent me in a way where it's more of self-expression. So I look feminine in a way, but then I also want to look masculine. But then that's not how I identify, so I just want to go by they, them.
I use she, her pronouns. I've tried they, them in the past. It just doesn't work for me. But I don't necessarily identify with feminine 100% of the time. It just depends on the day for me. But I always use she, her. Is it important to use the correct pronouns for you?
Yes, it is. Whenever I'm addressed with the wrong pronouns, it causes a few different things. It obviously hurts my feelings, but saying that I think doesn't point out the severity of it. It feels like an attack, like an act of hatred. It doesn't feel that way if it's a simple mistake, but when it's not, it's not.
Yes. It helps me feel more seen and heard by the people around me.
Not necessarily. I don't really mind what people call me. It's more of just a name thing that I prefer to go by rather than pronouns. To others, yes, it depends on the person. So asking for pronouns is a great way to let someone know they're accepted and respected.
What about for you?
For me, I don't really mind what pronouns people use on me. So it's more of just a name preference that I have.
Why is that?
I feel my birth name doesn't necessarily represent who I am as a person, and so my chosen name, Viv, is what I feel plays both with my masculinity and femininity, as my birth name does not.
So why do you feel like it's important to use the correct pronouns for you?
For me, I don't know how much it matters, but I can tell you just from watching other people, it is always very important. It's a matter of respect that you use the right pronouns for people, especially if they introduce themselves with their pronouns. There's a difference between, not knowing the correct pronouns to use and using the wrong ones intentionally. And to use the wrong ones intentionally is just harmful. That's all it is.
Just out of respect, mainly. I'm not about to go and call my dad she, her, unless he wants to be called by that. I just think it's nice to use the right pronouns.
It can cause a lot of damage to not use someone's correct pronouns, to not use someone's preferred name. And when I say it causes damage, I don't just mean hurt feelings. I mean a lot more than that. People die because other people don't have the decency to respect them as people, either because they are attacked or because they end up so lost and hurt and abandoned that they take their own lives. How does it feel to be called by the wrong pronouns?
Disappointing but expected.
I'm constantly called the wrong pronouns at home, and my friends will sometimes use the wrong pronouns, but that's because me switching my pronouns is fairly recent, so I'm mostly used to it at this point.
For me, it doesn't necessarily matter, but I know for others it can be really invalidating, hurtful, and just overall disrespectful. It doesn't really matter to me, honestly, because I've been referred to as he, him almost my entire life. But now I don't really mind playing around with they, them, she, her, or any neo-pronouns if people want to get feisty.
Being called by the wrong pronouns is an insult, I think, is a more gentle way to put it. But when someone uses the wrong pronouns for you, it It's like saying that you're not good enough. And depending on who you are when your pronouns are being used incorrectly, it can sort of feel like you'll never be good enough.
How do I address someone who uses multiple pronouns?
Normally, I will just kind of switch between the pronouns that they want to use.
You can always ask them. For me, I prefer to switch it up. So she's my boyfriend, it's my sister, things like that.
It's more of something to ask them. So if I know people who go by like different pronouns on different days, so I'd want to ask them to make sure on what they're comfortable with using that specific day. It depends. So I know some people who will use different pronouns on a different day. So it's decent to ask them what pronouns they want to be used that day, or if someone uses she, they, for example, you can say she went to the grocery store, they picked up da 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 da.
When somebody uses multiple pronouns, the most respectful thing that you can do is swap between those pronouns as often as you can. Not sticking to one pronoun is a compliment to somebody who uses multiple. How do I get better at using the right pronouns?
Try and think before you speak, especially when you have someone who's just come out to you as trans. Put a bit of a buffer before you identify that person. And you will probably misgender them at some point on accident. It happens to the best of us. Just don't make a big deal about it. Say I'm sorry and move on. Doing your best to respect that person and use their pronouns as much as you can. And I know that gets difficult if they're still closeted. Just whenever you're around them, use their pronouns. When you're not around them, if they're out, use their pronouns. And just try and make it a part of your life.
Practice makes perfect, definitely. It's okay to slip up once in a while. Practice makes perfect. So say you want to call someone by they, them, and so you slip up once, just apologize, move on, and continue. They should be understanding if you slip up, but it's to the point where, say, if they've been out to you for like almost 2 years now and you're still calling them the wrong pronouns, then that's just blatant homophobia or transphobia.
Practice, mostly. Just practice.
Repetition.
How do I get better at using the right pronouns?
Whenever I was first introduced to somebody who used they, them pronouns, my cousin, Logan, I wrote a story with a character that used they, them pronouns so I could get used to the linguistics of it. I also would just walk around the house and edit phrases in my head, just go over things I knew about them, trying to reframe how I thought of them. Logan has blue hair. They really like poetry. They like crocheting.